Morning, everybody. This is Michael Bergamo.
Trey Hayden, good morning.
We'd like to welcome you to episode number 4 of Updates and Patches. Today's episode, we're going to share some stories because this has been the last couple of weeks, right? So we've all had a little bit of a change of pace, a little bit of change of engagement of how we're going in, not going in, but interacting with businesses. And I had an experience last week, all leading up to this. That just blew me away. I had to talk about it, and it was something that we've talked about with customers always, but it really did highlight the fact that this needs to be covered. So in today's episode, we're going to cover the following. First thing we're going to talk about is call-in experience. What is that? How your customers perceive you when they call your business. Beyond that, we're going to give you some tips and some ideas that maybe you as the business owner would want to exercise against your own business to see what does it feel like to be a customer in your business. And then we're going to talk about some bolt-ons and some add-ons to make the absolute most out of your time on the phone from your customer's vantage point. What do they stand to gain by calling you and waiting if they have to? So Trey, good morning.
Good morning.
This is going to be fun. I'm very excited to do this. So today's episode is all about call-in experience. The very first thing I want to ask of Mr. Hayden here is, out of the process of going through a communication system, how do you see Code Blue as consultants in choosing that platform and really configuring that platform?
Well, as with all things Code Blue, we have never tied ourselves to any one way of doing something, right? Because not in technology, one size never fits all. So what we've done with telephony as far as Code Blue is concerned is assembled products and vendors that allow us to design a solution around what a customer would need. I still think that most people feel like a phone system is bought in a box and you bring it and you unbox it and you plug it in and you adapt your business to the way that particular system works. And I'm here to say that it doesn't have to be that way. You need to define what the best call-in experience for your business is, and then work with somebody that can wrap the phone system around that experience, not the other way around.
I think that's pretty well said. The story that I was going to share was even before the design of the phone system. This is really what led the topic for me. Calling into a business that historically only accepts foot traffic. Mm-hmm. Typically, you walk in, you get what you want, and you walk out. This, because of the times that we're in now, the very first thing you have to do is make a phone call. So that triggered a Google search. The Google search for that individual place, not relevant, but it is important, was actually their fax number. So in my phone system, I'm dialing up the number expecting to place an order or set an appointment, and I immediately get the fax tone.
So wheeling.
And that was my reaction was, oh man, no, I really need to talk to you today. So we tried it again. And of course the fax number didn't ring through this time. Now I was ringing, and finally it landed at a voicemail prompt that says, this mailbox hasn't been set up yet. Strike 2. So finally I said, I really don't have another option. I really need to get through to this business. I called it for a third time, answered on the first ring. And immediately I said, I got to talk about this. Like, this is something that I'm sure this business owner had never experienced before. Mm-hmm. No one would tell this business owner that this was a problem, probably. They would just not call back. And I don't want that for my partners, any of my friends, my family's businesses, none of that. I would much rather be able to be a consultant in that role and say, this is completely, we can circumvent this.
Yeah, if you're a business owner, you need to call your own main phone number sometimes, behave like a customer, check out all your options. What does number 1 do? What does number 2 do? And you need to have friends, peers, other business associates check behind you on that. For me, I'm a member of the Virginia Council of CEOs. I love that group. And I'll have folks like that check different aspects of customer experience for Code Blue just to give me a fresh set of eyes. They're not in the technology business, right? So they're not thinking about it the same way that I do. They're thinking about it in terms of their own business, and that produces really good feedback, things that you just don't always think of on your own.
Yep. It does lead us through a couple of conversations when we're talking to somebody about a communications platform, and I have to use that term very broadly because phone systems are no longer just phone systems, right, anymore. Right. They're instant messaging. There's all kinds of fun features that come along with turning that voice call into a data call. where it now has a totally new set of rules, but the root benefit is supposed to be all for your customer.
Yeah.
Getting to the right person the first time when you're presented with a phone tree, everyone's got them right. 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for the next thing. We have to, as consultants and technologists, understand your customers and what they expect when they call in.
That's right.
What do you hold highest as the business owner? Do you want that person on the phone for the least amount of time? Can you control that? That's also a huge piece of feedback we get. Is no, sometimes it does take 10 minutes to get to somebody into the phone system and then out of the phone system.
There's so many behaviors now because of cell phones and text messaging, but really what your goal should be is to get people where they want to go in as few steps as possible. If they feel like they're in the right spot, they'll hang out. But if they feel like they've got to select from 5 different menus to get where they're going, most of the time they're going to hang up because they're frustrated with the process, not with the fact that they can't get help. You know, they'll get buried in a menu somewhere, they'll give up. And if you're lucky, they'll call again. If you're not lucky, they call somewhere else.
The most recent piece of feedback I got was this very elaborate phone tree. Like if you followed those prompts exactly right, you would get to the person you wanted to, forgetting entirely that no one's going to press 4 buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So what was everyone doing? Mashing 0. Mash 0 until you get a human, and by the time you get that poor person that's got to answer that phone call because they're frustrated, they're not going to get the top-notch service that they want. Worse, if you bypass 0 and dump them to a voicemail, will they leave one? These are all of the considerations that we want to make, and now's the time because the world has kind of defaulted to the phone. We want to make sure that experience is just as good as you would have it be.
Right. You want, once people land where they're supposed to be, even if they have to wait a little bit to get a human on the other end of the phone, that's still an opportunity. Things like on-hold marketing, other ways that you can update them on their status, what number caller are they, or their expected hold time. All of those things are fine as long as you're continuing to communicate while they're on hold. They'll typically stick with you as long as you've made sure you've gotten them to the right place and the person that answers the phone is not going to say, oh my gosh, I need to transfer you somewhere else.
Right, and we have a wonderful partner to help with that. We are a customer, so we had the absolute greatest experience of all time with on-hold marketing as a consultative experience, as a bolt-on to our phone system that we sell. This was a company that sits down with you and wants to understand what you hold highest for your customers while they're on hold. The messages they help craft, record, make sure that you've got legal music playing while that's happening. And their very first step is to understand your business, which is so fun. They'll bring you in, they'll sit you around a table, they'll go through your website, all of your marketing they want to understand so that they can then reiterate the message to your customers while they're on hold. And it really is about awareness. If I feel like if I call into a customer or if I call into a business and I want to get service and I feel like they care about the time that I have to spend on hold, I'm more likely to be super excited to talk to them when they come back on the phone. Mm-hmm. And that also generates a ton of awareness. So the thing that I called in about, they will help me with, sure, but I may learn of 2 other things that I didn't even know they did. And the Rich and the guys over at On Hold Marketing will totally take care of you on that regard too. So we are grateful for our partners. Like I said, if there's ever an opportunity to make an introduction there, we definitely want to make sure that you know that we can handle that. Whether you have an existing phone system today, I don't care if it's an analog system that's from yesteryear or you're looking to migrate into something more modern. Trey's got a story that I want to have him share with you about the benefits of a modern phone system, some of its features and abilities, especially now where you have remote workforces coming into it to kind of share that information and the communication between those teams to really paint the picture of the benefit of upgrading, even now, even in the midst of everybody not necessarily traveling to and from the office, it's still possible. So if Trey, if you would share.
So this was, long before the current pandemic, but we all recall that Richmond had played host for a big bike race, just a few years ago. And we have a customer that's located downtown, right in the midst of this, that runs one of the phone systems that we provide. And we found out way after the bike race was done that they had simply packed up their phones, taken them home, plugged them into their home internet connections. What makes that special is that we have no idea what kind of home internet connection these folks had, what sort of traffic it was, what part of town they lived in. The point is they took them home, they plugged them in, and they were able to continue to function as a business while their section of downtown was closed off. And so I tell that story just so that you know that there are products and solutions out there that will offer that. And in the situation that we're in today, that kind of shines a light on the ability to be connected from a phone perspective, not just from a data perspective, wherever you need to be connected from. And that parlays into being able to continue to offer your customers the right experience when they call you, unlike the experience that some of us have had during this time when we're not sure what people's new operating hours are, how they're handling, their workforce and their delivery in this uncertain time. So.
Right. And that was really the speaking point I wanted to end on, which is the ability to edit. I think so frequently people put a phone system in and the way it is just the way it is and forever and always, versus the phone system really being a service. Mm-hmm. Meaning as you adapt, as you need things changed, if call routing needs to change, messages, all that stuff is malleable. And it should be, because honestly, so is communication, right? Those processes change pretty fluidly.
That system needs to wrap around your business and your workflow, not the other way around.
Right. And it shouldn't feel like an act of Congress to make a change.
Right.
The partner that put it in has the ability to help you make those changes. If they don't, there are partners out there that absolutely want to help you do that. And Code Blue is definitely one of them. So if there's an opportunity to have that conversation, if you're not completely satisfied with the way your phones are being perceived by your marketplace, we want to help with that. We sit down with you and map it out. And again, nothing's in concrete. We understand that as times change, as more and more people come back to work, we want to make sure we're adapting for that. And in the meantime, while they're not, we want all of your customers to feel and hear that everything is business as usual.
That's right.
Yeah. So, guys, if any of this is interesting, you know how to get in touch with us. I'm going to leave our contact information below. But thank you so much. Updates and Patches episode 4 is a total wrap. Thank you.
Have a great week.
See you.